Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of True Crime Time for Tuesday, September the 2nd, 2025, and I'm Woody Overton.
I'm Cyndi Overton.
We hope everybody had a great Labor Day.
Right.
Right? Tigers won this weekend. Big game. A lot of football. Yeah, do it?
Bad calls.
Oh, my God. I'm going to talk about that. A lot of good stuff, and summer is officially over. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Labor Day is it, right? I mean, yeah, it's Labor Day.
Yeah, Labor Day.
Because I said Memorial Day.
No more wearing white.
Yeah, I don't believe in all that bullshit. But I know it's football season, and Dove season opens next weekend.
Yes.
And you can barely stand it, huh? You're so excited.
I am.
At least it's a little bit cooler. It's not as humid outside.
Definitely.
We get done with this. Get done with this. I'm going to cut the grass. If you hear any extra noises in the studio, we have two guests. Their names are Rock and Snow, and they're my mama's babies, and she's on a trip out of town, and they get treated like human beings. So they're inside the outer part of the studio. So if y'all hear them chomping, making noise, moving around, barking, doing whatever, that's our, I guess, step grandbabies or brothers and sisters. I don't know.
They're your brothers and sisters.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. Hashtag just for Bradley, hashtag just for AO. The Labor Day week is the worst week of the year to drop podcasts, except for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that's just a fact. So we are going to be back full force on it this week. I've been on it regardless, but just didn't drop an episode last week. Everybody's out of town and beaches and football games and all that stuff. And the cases and the tips, thank you so much for continuing to call them in. And look, got a ton of stuff and just a ton of stuff, and it's all good. Keep doing it. 313-RLRC tip and working it. And of course, that applies also for hashtag justice for Barbara Blunt, and still believe hashtag justice for Haley is coming. So that being said, we're in the last September, October, November, December, four months of the year.
Yes.
So we are going to get down to it without further ado. How about that?
Okay.
Bring us some true crime time, Mama.
I just don't want to. I can't wait for the cool weather to come because I'm tired of these stories. So tired of these stories. It's so sad.
It's time for Family Matters.
We're going to Frisco, Texas.
Been there.
August 16th, there was approximately 95-degree weather there, sunshine, 95 degrees. And there was a 27-year-old mother named Vanessa Esquivel, and she left her 15-month-old child inside of her vehicle. And she knew that the vehicle was lacking functioning air conditioning. And so investigators say that she intentionally left the toddler in the car for over 2 hours while she went to work. So local authorities were alerted when the child was found deceased, and 911 was called. Frisco police arrived to the scene, and they were able to get surveillance footage, and through investigative findings and the surveillance footage, they determined that Esquivel's conduct met the statutory requirement for murder, meaning police believed the death was not obviously accidental. So Esquivel was arrested on August 20th by the Dallas Police Department, and she was booked into Collin County Jail on first-degree murder charges, and she remains in custody on bond set at $250,000. And of course, if she's convicted, she faces 5 years to life in prison and up to a $10,000 fine.
It's crazy.
It's sad.
It is. I mean, Frisco, Texas, isn't that by Dallas?
Mm-hmm.
And just roasting.
And it's so humid up there, too. It's just
horrible. Actually, Mom was up in that area now. Horrible thing, right?
Yes.
I don't know. Well, okay. I'm gonna back it up with another one. It's time for Family Matters. So let's go out to West Virginia. And they had a 34-year-old dad. And he, of course, being a dad, he had a kid, right? And it's an 8-year-old son. And, like our kids came this weekend, and I say kids, they're all grown ups now, and they bring their children, which is their dogs. I think at one time we had like 6 dogs here, including we still got Rocket Snow out there.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to leave somewhere, like Mama went where she went, and have to take care of her babies, right?
Right.
Well, as a parent, we did the same thing. You leave, you got to make sure your kid's taken care of.
Yeah.
Well, this 34-year-old father, he's got an 8-year-old son. He went on a trip to Florida. He failed to make arrangements for his 8-year-old son in West Virginia.
Okay.
He left him alone and unsupervised in his garage without food, water, or a bathroom for an entire week while he cruised on down to Florida.
I got goosebumps because that is just chilling. That is disgusting.
Fucking crazy. So Juan Jose Benitez Chachon, also known as Jose Juan Benitez Chachon, was taken into custody on Monday and charged with 1 count of gross neglect of a child, creating a substantial risk of death or serious bodily injury. And this according to court records. A deputy with the Harrison County Sheriff's Office responded to the Benitez Chachon's home on August the 15th after receiving a tip that the boy had been living alone in the garage in the Clarksburg, West Virginia. Pretty sure I went through there. So the local NBC affiliate W Boy reported all this, and it said upon arriving at the address, the deputy said he located the boy inside a small garage on the property. And they said the child had been without access to food, water, bathroom, medical assistance, or adult supervision while he was locked in the garage. So when speaking with the victim, the cops said they learned that his father, Benito Chachon, had left him there while he was out of state. He said, when we spoke with the child and through the investigation, it was determined that he was alone for approximately 1 week while his father was in Florida with no return date. It's just crazy. The deputy wrote all this in his report. So, and his probable cause affidavit for the arrest warrant for asshole dad or asshole father, because anybody could be a father. They said while the boy was left unattended, investigators said others from the neighborhood did provide him with a limited amount of help. The child did have assistance from neighbors throughout the day, but did not have any assistance during the nighttime hours and was not in sight or audible range during the nighttime hours of adult assistance.
Why did not the neighbors report this
Baby,
sooner?
it's not I knew what you were going to say, but it's not the neighbor's fault the daddy left them there.
But to report it?
Evidently somebody did. I don't know. I wasn't there. So let me finish the story. In court documents obtained by Weston, which is CBS affiliate WDTV, the law enforcement said the decision to leave the boy in the garage alone and without resources, particularly in case there was an emergency, was extremely unsafe situation for the child. No shit, right? So they also said that Benitez Chachon in 2023 was charged with felony child neglect after being accused of leaving his then 6-year-old child unsupervised while he went to drink alcohol for several hours. Yeah, so same kid. He pled guilty to one count of misdemeanor child neglect in that case and was sentenced to 1 year unsupervised probation. You want to ask them, ask how come they didn't take the fucking kid in.
Exactly.
Benitez Chachon is currently being locked up in the North Central Regional Jail on a $100,000 bond. And he pled not guilty. Motherfucker, you were in Florida.
How is he not guilty?
He's pleading to catch his plea and they'll give him whatever. And he better be lucky that kid isn't dead. And thankfully somebody, maybe the 8-year-old didn't tell him maybe probably the 8-year-old didn't know when daddy was coming back. Maybe they don't tell him they got him, gave him a sandwich or something. They saw him again the next day and whatever. Eventually they just called the cops. But it's crazy. Crazy, shitty parents to start out this September.
Short little life has been neglect.
That's only what we know about.
Exactly. My mom, when she got married to my dad, she was 18 and he went into the border patrol. So she was they were stationed in Hebronville. And my dad has a brother that's 13 years younger than him. And he went to go visit them. And at the time, that brother was, young, like 15-ish years old. And mom was frustrated with him. So she locked him in the garage for a couple of hours. And there was like tarantulas and stuff. And literally he will still talk about that to this day. And that was a short period of time. It wasn't his parent. It wasn't days. It wasn't,
I'm pretty sure it's not a good experience to be locked in anywhere.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm just like, it's life changing. Well, got another great Family Matters for you.
Briefer. It's time for Family Matters.
So we have an elderly couple, and the male, the husband, his name is Scott Douglas Levin. He was a nurse, but he was 75, but he had been a nurse, and he was caring for his wife. Her name was Iris Jean Anderson. And she weighed approximately 130 pounds. And typically we don't talk about weight as part of a story, but this is relevant. So the wife was dealing with health issues and used a walker. And one day in early May of 2023, she fell in the bathtub and she hurt herself and she hurt her arm. And Levin said that the husband said he couldn't help her and he refused to call 911 and he refused to drive her to the hospital. And his reasoning for that was because she was obese and he didn't want to wait in the hospital waiting room. And so he just believed that she would die lying in the bathtub.
Nice.
On May 8th of that year of 2023, authorities were alerted when Anderson's pastor went and visited the couple. And Levin, the man, informed the pastor that his wife had died. Trusting the husband's word, the pastor then called the daughter of their daughter. And she was unaware that her mother had passed. And so she was unaware of her mother's passing. She went and checked and it's very confusing, but she went and checked and the daughter returned and she realized that her mother actually was dead in the bathtub. And so she called the police and the police arrived that same day and they began the investigation. And when they took the body for the autopsy, they determined that Iris died from gastrointestinal hemorrhage due to prolonged immobility.
Jeez.
And complicated by multiple blunt force injuries including a fractured right shoulder, bruises on her right arm and eye, and a scalp laceration. And her manner of death was ruled a homicide. So she didn't just slip and fall in the bathtub. Like, he bludgeoned her. I mean, with all of that, you know? So Lovren was charged with second-degree manslaughter through culpable negligence, but ultimately pleaded guilty to criminal neglect by a person who knew or should have known her condition risked great bodily harm. And so on August 28th of this year, he was sentenced to 41 months in prison because of his plea deal. And he's 75, but still.
Fuck him.
Yeah, so that's that. I mean,
So now the state gets to pay for him to die. They should have given it to him the same way.
Exactly.
That he gave it out.
Yep.
That's just enough of the bad. Well, this is bad too, but not that kind of bad. So it's planes, trains, and automobiles. Now, if you were going to hijack something, what would it be?
If I was going to hijack a plane, I would hijack a...
Like a private jet or something?
Oh, well, yeah, PJ all the way, like a Gulfstream.
Yeah, right. With stewards and shit.
Yeah,
or whatever they call them, flight attendant. Yeah, and all the alcohol you could drink.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to try to play a clip and then I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
Let's see if this works out. We're going right back home to Louisiana.
Details tonight on the man that Louisiana State Police say hijacked a construction crane and caused several crashes on I-10 in Vinton early yesterday morning. Matthew Vincent, who's 37 of Vinton, is facing multiple charges after police say he unlawfully entered the crane around 5:30 while it was parked in a work zone near LA 108. Detectives say he moved the boom over the westbound lanes, causing vehicles to run into crane cables. Officials say at least 2 people are injured after at least 4 crashes that damaged the crane and forced a lengthy interstate closure. Vincent was said to have abandoned his truck in a nearby field before climbing into the crane. Vincent was arrested and booked into the Calcasieu Correctional Center on charges of simple burglary, aggravated obstruction of a highway, negligent injuring, hit-and-run driving, criminal mischief, and for a pedestrian on the interstate. Troopers say the investigation remains active and are looking into whether or not he may have had an accomplice.
Yeah. Hijack a crane.
Why?
That they don't drive at like 1 mile an hour.
Literally.
When I worked in the plants, they have to put the bigger ones, they have to put mats down in front of them so you can roll. You literally walk beside and put the mats out in the front.
And pull.
And it's 5:30 in the morning. He already abandoned his truck in the field. Meth is bad, motherfucker. And then you're just going to get in and evidently hit the levers and drop the booms across the interstate. Can you imagine riding along the interstate and hitting a cable? What a fucking idiot. I mean, it's not funny.
It's not.
Thank God nobody died.
Right.
But it's
like people standing on a bridge. So, I mean, this is worse, but people that stand on a bridge and drop bricks and,
I don't think he intended to drop the crane across the interstate. He wanted to leave. Yes, he was trying to drive the crane away. He was trying to make the quick getaway.
On a crane?
In a big crane.
He should have used his truck.
Meth is bad, right? You got to have them. Takes all kinds of dumb criminals, and that's way over in West Louisiana, almost to the Texas line on Interstate 10. I'd have been so fucking pissed 5:30 in the morning, like, bitch, get a job. I'm trying to get to my job because this is when everybody travels to work. Literally. I'm trying to get to my job to go do my 7 to whatever to 4, whatever it may be, and you drop some shit in Interstate. Now I'm gonna be late, gonna be in trouble with my boss, and you're still high on meth.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. There you have it.
Yeah. Wow. Don't know what to say about that. Well, except we're going to Vegas for I'm on a roll today.
Family Matters?
Yes.
Holy shit. It's time for Family Matters.
This story is, is a little wild. But we have a grandson who's 32 years old. His name is Spencer McDonald. And his grandmother, Dina Vale, was 80 years old. She taught ballet for 65 years. And she, at 80 years old, was still teaching ballet. And this woman must have had it going on because she had a 43-year-old boyfriend. So, Spencer went to Dina's apartment and got a kitchen knife and what they are describing or saying is a cosplay sword. In one section, they're also calling it a mace in another section of the story. So he had a knife and the sword.
It's a weapon, yeah.
In her Las Vegas apartment. And he killed her in her bedroom. And then he waited for the boyfriend to return home. And the boyfriend's name was A.J. Graydon. And when Graydon entered, McDonald bludgeoned and stabbed him. And then dragged Graydon's body to lie alongside his grandmother's body. And he hid out in the apartment for a couple of days. He just, continued to go through his routine, which was probably playing video games or something like that. So on June 28th, 2 maintenance workers were sent to do a wellness check after Dina missed her ballet class. Because I told you she was still teaching ballet. And so they entered the apartment, and that is where Spencer ambushed them. And he attacked one of the maintenance workers, and killed them. And then he attacked the other one, and he was able to escape. And so now we have 3 dead. 1 escapes. He goes and he gets help, and Spencer is arrested. And so now, and I forgot this part of the story. I'm sorry. I probably should restart it. But all of that happened in 2023. So,
Okay. All right.
So now we're in July of 2025, and the sentencing and the plea has come down. So McDonald Spencer has pleaded guilty, saying that he's mentally ill. And he pleaded guilty, but mentally ill, to 3 counts of murder. In exchange, prosecutors agreed not to seek the death penalty. And on August 28th, he received life in prison without the possibility of parole. But one of the victims' loved ones said that anything less than him being murdered, him being killed the same way their loved one was killed, was unacceptable. Like, life in prison in a mental health ward is just not enough. Like, he's, they need to be killed with blunt force. He needs to be killed with blunt force trauma. So he was sentenced, and his defense attorney insisted that the balance between accountability and treatment is critical. And that's where I said Graydon's sister had voiced her opposition, saying, "My family will feel AJ's absence for the rest of our lives, and this is truly unforgivable. Nothing short of death by stabbing and bludgeoning seems sufficient as punishment for this predator."
Crazy.
And that's the truth.
I concur. This one contains 2 things I'm very passionate about for obviously different reasons. But I'm going to take you way back and tell you what this fine young gentleman did when he was a young man in Utah. And his name is Ralph Menzies. Okay. So way back when, 1986, I was 16, you were 15. We were living our best lives. Well, Menzies, he wasn't living his best. Well, his victim wasn't living her best life, and her name was Maureen Hunsaker. And she was almost 27 years old. And Menzies kidnapped her from the gas station where she worked at as an attendant in the Salt Lake City suburb of Kearns on February 23rd, 1986. Now, no one saw him kidnap her, but the cops became concerned when customers at the gas station said, "Hey," they kept showing up. There's no one here,
Right.
And they were like, "That's probably not really good." But
yeah, and back then, people actually at the gas stations pumped gas for you.
no,
No?
that was like a little bit after that time.
Okay.
But it'd be like rolling up to a Circle K and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Right. So no one there. No one's home. Hey, hello, you in the back? You in the cooler? Well, no, she wasn't. So back then, they didn't get on their cell phone and call the cops. They had to use a store phone or a pay phone or whatever. And so, but no one saw her when she went missing. And, they look around the gas station, the cops do when they get there, and they find some of Hunsaker's belongings behind the counter, and $70 was missing from the register. Back then, $70 was like $700 now.
Exactly.
Right? So night goes on, and they contacted her husband and all that, and the cops are actually with her husband, and guess what happened?
They got a call.
And again, there's no cell phones.
Right.
So they had to get a call from a landline or a payphone. And Hunsaker called her husband, who was actually standing with a sheriff's deputy. And she told him that she had been robbed and kidnapped, but that her abductor intended to release her. Can you imagine getting that phone call?
No.
Now, right after that, the line went dead. Right? So later on, 2 days later, it's beautiful country up there. Everybody's outdoorsmen and shit. And a hiker found Hunsaker's body in a picnic area of Big Cottonwood Canyon, just south of Salt Lake City. She had been strangled and her throat had been cut. Show the picture to you two. So detectives do what they do, and somehow they were able to connect this guy Menzies, Menzies, to the crime, and they say they found Hunsaker's identification cards amongst his belongings when he was picked up on unrelated charges.
Okay.
Right? So we know we got this chick that's been murdered. We know who she is, and I'm pat frisking you down because you're being an asshole for whatever.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, you got her shit on you. Well,
Anyway. The trophy, I guess.
Well, he maintained his innocence. He said, I ain't got anything to do it. I didn't do it, Well, they took his ass to trial. In a trial, prosecutor Ernie Jones called Menzies a psychopath, saying that there is no therapy for the evil inside him. And this according to Salt Lake Tribune. His defense attorney at the time, Brooke Wells, that argued for leniency, saying that Menzies had a long history of being abused and neglected as a child and has been diagnosed with mental disorders. Yeah, they say that. All our listeners know they say that in every case, right?
Right.
Well, the 3rd District Court Judge Raymond Uno, he kind of struggled with not the guilt or innocence part.
The sentence.
Death, because he was up for the death penalty, right? And he struggled with the death decision, but ultimately said he needed to protect the community, citing Menzies' long history of violent offenses. He said, "It is with the heaviest of heart that I make this most difficult decision. And I find the death penalty is appropriate." Okay? So to sentence him to death.
Yeah.
In Utah.
Yeah.
Like probably 87 or 88, something like that.
Okay.
So now, nearly 40 years after the crime, it's Menzies' time.
Okay.
This is where the story gets convoluted.
Okay.
Right? But his attorneys say he no longer exhibits an awareness that he is being executed for the crime of murder. And they filed a competency petition. I see your mouth hanging open. But listen, it's very important. They said that awareness is critical. And the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that an inmate can't be executed if they don't understand why they're being executed. So the court, I guess the Supreme Court, criticized Judge Spate's decisions to schedule Menzies' execution and reject all new evidence that the inmate's cognitive function has continued to deteriorate. So let me go back to this head of the story. This is the second reason why it's important to me. Then I'll come back and finish it. I want to tell you what kind of a douchebag he was first. I hate that word, but so we're going to Utah, and the Utah Supreme Court has stopped a firing squad execution set for next week over concerns that the inmate being put to death has dementia.
Yeah.
So severe that he doesn't understand why he's being killed. Mm-hmm. This one really kind of throws me for a loop because my daddy just died of the worst kind of dementia, and it was just fucking horrible. Anyway, the court's ruling on Friday, August 29th, vacates the execution warrant for Ralph Menzies and sends the case back to a lower court so that his mental capacity can be reevaluated. Menzies, 67, has been set to die by firing squad just after midnight on Friday, September the 5th, for the 1986 murder of 26-year-old Maureen Hunsaker, who was a married mother of 3, who was kidnapped, robbed, strangled, and found tied to a tree with her throat slit. So Menzies' attorney told USA Today that Menzies' dementia has significantly worsened since his last evaluation over a year ago. Well, if you got dementia, it's not going to get any better. And it's generally 4 to 6 years. Anyway, they said he's tethered to an oxygen tank, uses a wheelchair, is confused and disoriented, and no longer understands why the state of Utah is trying to kill him. She said, "We look forward to presenting our case in the trial court." The Utah Attorney General's office did not immediately respond to questions about whether it would appeal the ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court or accept the new mental evaluation from Menzies. And Jerry Garcia, who's the executive director of the Utah Department of Corrections, said in a statement that the agency will continue to carefully monitor the situation and remains prepared to carry out the sentence of the court if we are called to do so. Utah's 3rd District Court Judge Matthew Bates previously rejected arguments about Menzies' dementia, ruling in June that while the inmate exhibited cognitive decline during his last evaluation, he consistently and rationally understands the reason for his death sentence. I'm almost done. This is a crazy story.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So they're now citing 2 expert reports that raise serious and significant questions about whether Menzies is competent to be executed, and it said for the district court to weigh the evidence and conclude otherwise at this stage was an error. So you might want to ask, how do the victim's family feel about the situation?
Always.
It's 40 years later.
Yeah.
And you get both ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
You get people who hate the death penalty, people who love it, and whatever. So Maureen Hunsaker's son, Matthew Hunsaker, declined to comment on the latest developments and asked for privacy. But he had previously told USA Today that he believes Menzies' dementia arguments are a ploy, that the inmate's condition is being exaggerated in an effort to spare his life. He said, "I'm not buying it. He doesn't understand what's going on." And he added that Menzies' attorneys have brought no evidence before the court by any doctors, staff, cellmates, anybody, that when he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't know where he's at. He knows he's in prison for killing my mom. He had been planning to attend the execution, the son. He said he wanted to attend the execution, quote, just to see the closure myself. So the Utah Supreme Court justice said that they understand the ruling could distress the Hunsaker family. They said, we acknowledge that this uncertainty has caused the family of Marine Hunsaker immense suffering, and it is not our desire to prolong that suffering, but we are bound by the rule of law. So they can either choose to challenge it and proceed or not.
But he was already serving time for the crime. He was found guilty. And I was comparing
40 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was comparing it to the Real Housewife. Erica Girardi, her husband Tom, was in cognitive decline. But when he was getting charged and going to trial for his crime, and they did the whole dementia thing. And those are two different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
He sat there for 40 years knowing what he did.
Absolutely. I agree with you. But then I think about my dad, and I remember the first sign of anything being wrong, which it was like a missed word. Or I mean, like nothing almost, right? And I thought, because we hung together
all the time.
He's my best friend, and and I remember thinking, okay, but I didn't say anything to my mom about the time, and then a little bit more, and finally, mom asked me one day, and I was like, yeah, and ultimately, when got him to Houston, and they gave him the diagnosis, the best in the world. And they gave him the diagnosis, and they said, basically 4 years, something like that. Well, I mean, he had fucking full cognitive, driving the whole 9 yards and doing whatever for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it just started the paranoid. Well, he had the paranoid dementia,
right.
which is
the worst,
just horrible. And that when it went, it really went.
Yes.
And I'm talking about within a period of a year, I guess a year and a month. Without going into too much detail, it went from almost being able to, I mean, certainly not having sentences and forgetting names and all that, to just not being him.
Right.
But he still had a few lucid moments, maybe 10 seconds at a time, where it would be, I love you, or can I help you with something, or whatever, but just seconds. But then in the end, he was already gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor, but how I feel about the death penalty, but if it didn't shit ever happens to me and I'm on death row, they can go ahead and put a bullet in me, because I don't want to live like that.
That's the other part that I was waiting for you to finish what you were saying, because when your dad got to his toughest part, and if this guy really is suffering, all you kept saying is, I don't want my dad to suffer anymore.
Shit,
don't.
He's not, and that's what gives me the strength every day, and I deal with it different.
Yeah.
Certain family members of mine cry every day or whatever. I don't. I take the strength that he's with me right now.
Right.
Every decision I make, it makes me a better man. But I don't know. I don't know when this one. I can tell you what. If he truly has dementia, he ain't give a fuck. I mean,
Right.
Shoot him, or he's gonna die. See, the last stage, y'all, is, and I need to really, really bring awareness to dementia, because I didn't know it. I guess it's like, you hear more about cancer with dementia, but as Dad had it over the years, we didn't tell hardly anybody about it. But as you talk to people, it's like everybody knows somebody that has it.
Exactly.
And of course, they don't have it to the extent that my dad did. But the last part, fuck that.
Yeah.
You might as well go ahead and put a bullet in him and put him out of his misery, although he doesn't know his misery.
No.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
This has been a
so
fucking
sad.
This day.
This is this is true crime, Woody. Okay.
It's one time
Okay, Cyndi.
I know it's one time you give me. We did like 4 or 5 family matters, bad families, and
Woody's
at least
getting soft, y'all.
we got the guy on the crane in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Hey, let's roll with the September. Hashtag Justice for Bradley. Hashtag Justice for AO. Vernon Parrish. Holy shit. I got to get back on TikTok kick hard this week, and I'm going to, because I have so much shit. You know about 70% of it. Obviously, you don't know everything.
Yeah.
All the messages and the phone calls and people I've talked to and everything else. And yes, it is proceeding. I'm not gonna tell you where it's at, because I don't want them to know where it's at.
Yeah.
But I was going to do a TikTok before Labor Day that says, hey, murderers, or you have to say schmurderers on TikTok, enjoy your last fucking Labor Day. Right? For free.
Exactly.
Your next one to be in Angola.
But all your time.
Well, you may be in the Vernon Parish jail, because it's going to take a couple of years to get the prosecution. That's just like this asshole. And the trial, they'll delay the trial, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Whatever. But your time is coming.
Yes.
Justice is coming. And so I hadn't been telling you this, but the every night when I go to get into bed, you're already asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I do before I take my glasses off is I've been flipping the Bible open and picking out a thing. And last night, Old Testament, New Testament, I don't know where it's going to come up. And last night, the paragraph I read was about justice.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord talked about justice. How honorable is justice, right?
Exactly.
And fight for justice. And we not ever backing down. They think they got a reprieve last week because they didn't get an episode drop.
Right.
Guess what? They'll be tripled down this week.
Yeah.
So with all the technical stuff going on, anyway, y'all enjoy September. Hopefully this little bit of cooler weather's coming, and hopefully we'll avoid the H word, Louisianans and everybody along the coastline. And we love and appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for liking and listening and sharing and supporting us. Patreon Convicts, hope you're enjoying all your commercial-free early releases and the other stuff that's put up. And we just love y'all. Couldn't do it without you.
For sure.
We're 2 months away today from when we started the show.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're 10 months in. And love y'all. You got anything else?
No.
All right. With that being said, I'm Woody Overton.
I'm Cyndi Overton.
And we're your host of True Crime Time for Tuesday, September the 2nd, 2025. We'll holler at you later. Peace.